The word love is most often defined as a noun, but we would all love the word love is most often defined as a noun, but we would all love better if we used it as a verb. This is one of the quotes that best describe the book All About Love by Bell Hooks, which I'm gonna get it. Okay, which I have right here. It's an essay on love that dissects 13 different types of love. Because, yeah, they're just not one. She liked the number 13. I guess she was a Swiftie or something. I don't know. And dives into the topic to analyze our current society and how loveless it is. Some people say it's just a self help book, but I don't believe it to be completely true because it's more of an essay. It's an analysis mixed with an opinion essay on how to better our society, which I love. This book feels like standing in the middle of Times Square because you're constantly bombarded with information that you want to look at. But in contrast with Times Square, this book is actually quite interesting, and the information you get from it is life changing. Trigger warning, this book is gonna make you want to text your ex. Believe me, don't do it. Okay, there's no need. Just it'll pass. But while you're reading it, you're like, I kind of want to like text my ex, but that's not a good. That deep inside, that's not the answer. So, in order for us to be on the same page as the author, I'm going to provide to you the definition that Bell Hooks says. Love is the will to extend oneself for the purpose of fulfilling someone else's or your own spiritual growth. Spiritual doesn't necessarily mean religious, even though she is religious and there's a whole chapter on it. But I just think that religion would be an addition to someone's spiritual growth. Well, just an aspect of it. There are people, well, I mean, I don't believe in God, so yeah, I'm just trying to adapt it to my life. Because love is an act of will. You choose to love someone or something. You have some power and agency, and understanding it makes a huge difference in our life because we're told that love is just this passive emotion that you just feel and happens instinctively. As such, many do not comprehend the sheer effort that it is involved in loving someone. Thereby, most people just stop attaining fulfillment in relationships. In other words, love is an action that requires a lot of effort and patience, but most people are just too lazy to endure. Also, there's a very curious thing that Bell says, and it is that sex is all over the place. One can easily learn sex, and we're not expected to know it all about sex. But love seems to be thrown under the rug and expected to naturally come. What do you guys think? Because I believe that we are certainly expected to know both things, I believe. Love since we grow up, and the other ever since we just hit puberty, more or less, is you're expected to know not everything, but to have an idea. And she remarks the differences and how male and female relationships function. This book was published in the year 2000, so yeah, just the context is not today's context, but we can get some information that could be useful about it. First of all, she that's interesting because she says that most books written about love are written by men and the audience are women, which is really paradoxical because we live in a society where women are tend to be brought up to just put more importance in love and relationships, which is a fact that just reinforces the idea that most women need to find fulfillment through loving relationships, which is not necessarily true at all. It's just a part of it. And for the author, these misleading ideas and ideals of love leave the door open for sexism, which is not only victimizing women, but both the sexes. These new age evocations of yin and yang, masculine and feminine, are just limiting old sexist stereotypes wrapped in a more alluring package delivered through social media. And it's something that we should all be just a bit critical about. And it's just something we should be critical about because there are many voices on the internet and not all of them are true. As a matter of fact, most of them are not true. By that, I also deem myself. I don't mean that what I'm saying is necessarily true for you. Anything I say, just like take everything with many grains of salt. There are many messages being sent to us through social media, and take what you want and what will benefit your life, but why do we believe everything we're told? Just be critical, please. Hooks also mentions the dynamics that make a relationship fail. She highlighted the difference between the sexes, but for non generalizing reasons, I will just not imply that an act or a behavior is more manly than another, because nowadays everyone is good and everyone is bad and everyone makes mistakes when it comes to relationships. Okay, and the dynamic follows two people that are in a relationship who um, lie to each other in order to fit in and content the other. This person is hiding pieces of themselves in order to content the other, but the truth is that the other would 100% accept their quirks, and vice versa. But they just like hiding it, and by hiding it, they are not connecting entirely because they are not being truly honest with themselves, and that creates friction. They are just shielding their true personality from their partner, and that means that they are not going to be as close as they could be. And the other also mentioned how this lack of self-esteem, because at the end of the day, if you're not being true to your partner, everyone has weird ass quirks. So if you hide them from your partner, it's because you are not secure enough in yourself. And this lack of self-esteem is the root cause of the loveless society. Quoting Bell, since it's difficult to care for one's spiritual growth or that of another, when the core of oneself is being hidden behind secrecy and lies, a few people will ever know true love. Or in other words, a few people will know true love because you're shielding yourself from being yourself to the world. Because the failure of communicating truth and authenticity among partners is what ultimately breaks down the relationship itself. For Bell, there are different factors that affect why we live in a world where we've just thrown love under a rug and are like, okay, we don't need it. I'm a girl boss who doesn't need love. But turns out you do because you're a person. Oh my god. She believes that we live in a world where it's hard for us to find love because of the next reasons. And by love, I don't mean romantic love only. I mean the 13 types of love. The first one is the breakdown of traditional families. Because yes, many years ago, you couldn't even get divorced. Most people got married when they were really young. And well, the family structure was much more, structured. But she states that this is not necessarily a bad thing because, with divorce, many people's lives actually bettered. I just cannot even imagine my parents together. If my parents were to be together, like it would be hell. Oh my god, no. I'm just so thankful that divorce exists. What we need to do is find a sense of community with people who are similar to us. They don't need to be our family. We don't need to force everyone to get married and have children and have a traditional family because that would be really disastrous for many people. Second, the rise of individualism and the selfishness that doesn't let us love others. Because yeah, we live in a world where we look for ourselves most of the time. And that's something that hinders our love towards others. So we become even more selfish, and it's just a fish that bites its own tail. I don't know if this is something in English. In my native language, it's a typical phrase. Third, materialism overshadowing our emotional needs. We use consumerism as a way to cope emotionally instead of, connecting with people, and that also shields our love for others. Fourth, a lack of communication skills and emotional intelligence, which I'd say that have been a hot topic lately in social media. And now I just can't help it but find those terms a bit cringy because they've been used a lot. And indeed, they are really important skills to have when getting into a relationship and loving people. So I just like really don't like the fact that social media has made them cringy, because now I just undermine the importance of emotional intelligence and communication skills. The last one is loveless work. Many people go to work and they just dislike it, and that's another factor that feeds into this lovelessness. So what Belle advises for us is to just love work, to find some passion and commit to it. Because once you're committed, there's no way out. And if there's no way out, you're gonna make it better. We could also use it with other things in our life. But yeah, work could be a good one. Because how many people you know that complain about their job? If they're not gonna do anything about it, they might as well just commit to it and make something good out of it. And it all starts in their head. She views self love as a communal activity, something that we do together and we bring each other up. It's not only in someone's hand, but by everyone doing their job and providing love, the whole world will change. So she talks about child abuse, which is really interesting. She has no credentials about a psychologist or a psychiatrist or anything like that, but as someone who's studying this, I find it quite interesting, because she mentions that harsh punishment and mistreatment leads children to question the meaning of love since a very young age, and it just cues the way they perceive love, which is pretty obvious because abuse and neglect have because abuse and neglect just negate love. And the author mentions that once she was in a party and there was a man who said, "Hey, I'm just so proud my mom used to beat me up because it made me a man." And the author, Belle, responds with something along the lines of, dude, maybe you could have fulfilling relationships with women and you would be okay with them if your mother hadn't hit you as a child. It's certainly a curious conversation to have. I would like to have a conversation with that man, because it's like he certainly has some issues. He certainly does. Of course, many studies show that even verbal abuse and low doses of mistreatment in children most often than not affect in their relationships as an adult, especially in the romantic ones. Mistreating a child is condemning them to a loveless life. Of course, some of them can develop the skills to maintain healthy relationships, but it will be much harder for them, especially in the teenage years and young adult years, because they don't have the standards of how they should be treated and how he or she is expected to be treated and treat others. And you have to add the trauma. To sum up, love is an action and a choice, which is beautiful. We must change our perception of love and start to give love to others and ourselves if we want to change how society is nowadays. Think of love as a plague that spreads all over society. To wake up every day and choose love for us and for our loved ones, for the world. It is only in taking agency that we can change it. And with all that said, I highly encourage you to read the book because it's life changing. It's full packed with amazing words and insights. This woman knew a lot. She certainly has some really extreme political views. You don't have to agree with all that she says, but the ideals and the perspective she brings to the table, she delivered. This is not like any other books about love that I've also read. This is much different. This is an essay. This is rationalizing love in a cute way. So I really encourage you to go to your nearest bookstore. And buy it. It will alter your perception of love. You know how this book changed my life? I used to just go around, see a couple, and I'd be like, ugh. And now I see a couple and I'm like, oh my god, that's how, yes, that's amazing. That's so cute. The world is healing. That's how this book changes you. You have some sources that I've used down below because I do not only read the book, I do a lot of research also. And yeah, hope you have a really nice day. And I just wanted to add my grain of love in this world because I know that, well, if you live in a country where Valentine's Day is the thing, I don't know if thankfully or not, I don't live in a country where Valentine's Day is a big thing. So I just wanted to tell you that love is not only romantic and life's full of love. So yeah, have a nice day.